I first want to thank you for coming down. That's really nice.
That's right, long drive.
Very long drive, I know. So if you could just introduce yourself and kind of like what you guys are doing.
My name's Cody. For those of you listening, I work at Southeastern Seminary, which is a seminary in Wake Forest, and I work in what's called prison programs. So we have a program for both men and women. The programs have different goals. For the men, we have a partnership with North Carolina DPS and Game Plan for Life, which is a nonprofit that funds us to work and educate the incarcerated population for the men, to actually train them in their faith tradition to then serve in different parts of the state prison system. And we actually just had our first graduating class, so we actually have one team on the field right now. COVID has kind of slowed that down, but we will have 5 teams in the field per se, to use that language. And there'll be 24 guys that are on the field this year. Then we're coming up again. We'll deploy again in January. So we're working towards that. For the ladies, right now we're finished. We have one cohort of ladies who are finishing an Associate of Arts degree, and that's just a general degree. Our goal was to get them in a position to do a 4-year degree and actually give them an emphasis in business and entrepreneurship, because the most difficult thing for formerly incarcerated women is actually finding a job to support their family. So what better way to help them do that than, hey, start your own business. So
absolutely.
That program is held at NCCIW, which is the Raleigh facility for ladies, and then men's is at Nash Correctional in Nash County, which is about 45 minutes east from Wake Forest. So
that's too cool.
The program's been in existence for 5 years, and it was a group effort. Game Plan for Life, which is Coach Joe Gibbs's organization. His nonprofit was doing prison ministry. This was kind of the next step for that, and they kind of brought the people to the table. They got DPS and they got Southeastern as an educator to come to the table and kind of figure out what can we do together, and see a program that happened in Louisiana and in Texas kind of happened in North Carolina. So that was where it was. That's how it all started.
That's how it all started.
Yeah,
really cool.
So
now, is this something you've always wanted to do? Like this kind of like blindside you, or?
If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have told you I'd never work in a prison. That was not the thing I thought that God wanted me to do. I knew I love helping people. I love coaching, teaching, that kind of aspect, but never thought that I would be in prison. Actually, my boss, he nicknamed me Careful Cody. So walking into prisons is an interesting dynamic. And part of my role is I actually travel across the state. So I have been in 35 of the 53 prisons around that number in the state. And so that was not something that I thought I would do for sure. My boss, as a friend, was a mentor at our church in Raleigh. And he actually was my boss in student life at the seminary as well. So when he transitioned a couple years into that, he asked me to come on board with him, and have been there since the summer of 2018. Wow. So, but no, it was definitely not looking to be in prison ministry or prison education. That was not something that I was looking at. But we feel like God has really put us here to really help.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And now, what exactly would be your role as in
prison
ministry? Yeah.
Yeah. So my technical title is assistant director. So I oversee the recruiting piece for our education. So from guys who are eligible, getting them all the way up to they want to be in the program and helping them actually apply. And then I oversee the process to select. We select up to 30 students every year.
Okay.
And I oversee all of that. And then what that entails is obviously the application process, but I travel to each facility that has interested candidates. Okay. So I go meet with them face to face. That's kind of the third or fourth step in the process, but I go and meet with them. That takes about 3 months, just to 2 to 3 months to get to every facility.
Okay.
And then it really is about a 5 to 6 month process to get students all the way to a class that we're going to select. I also oversee the deployment side of our program. So there's my coworker. She oversees. She's the associate director. She oversees everything kind of in the middle from student. Like she's working on student issues and education, professors, all of that from an educational standpoint, and supporting that. I oversee kind of the bookends. My relationships are more with the facilities across North Carolina and with DPS, while her relationships are obviously with our professors, our students, and with the facility at Nash. But I'm kind of capping in that process.
Gotcha. Okay. And now the process is it for only people that are in prisons or coming out of prisons? Is it like a mix,
Yeah, so our whole educational process is for the guys and for the women. So you have to be incarcerated. For the guys, you have to have 12 or more years left on your sentence.
Okay.
There's a reason for that. For the ladies, you have to have 2 years left because they want you to be able to finish that associate's degree so that when you get out, you'll have that. For the men, though, the particular reason for 12 years is because, again, the men is where we started. The ladies is growing. The men we have a much more defined goal there. So for the men, the reason there's a time associated with this is because we want to help train, educate, and grow them so that they can actually be an influence in the prison system to be a change agent. And it's kind of like when you're in high school as a freshman, you don't go to other freshmen if you need news about what's going on. You go to a senior, right? That's kind of deal. Hey, these folks have been here. They've demonstrated certain characteristics to actually do their time well, but then also help and serve. And so we're gonna, hey, let's actually educate and train you to then also be able to make an even bigger impact in other facilities across the state. And that's the main goal. The vision would be in 20 years, we have, upwards of 400 field ministers. What's what we call the guys once they're sent out, field ministers across the state in almost every facility that's doing ministry, service, counseling. Our guys are trained in psychology and biblical counseling. They have a pastoral ministry degree, and they can do lots of things from community service to educational programs to Bible studies to sitting down and actually counseling someone who just lost their mom or an incident happens at the facility. They can actually counsel guys going through that. And we're kind of seeing the first fruits of some of that. And that happens already at the facility where the program is, but we're starting to see some of that come to fruition as well.
That's very cool. And now, what is the programs kind of like the schooling? What does it look like? Is it very formal? Is it very...
Yeah, so the education part is formal. So it's a fully accredited. Mm-hmm. So these guys we had our first graduating class in December, and their degrees as good as my undergraduate degree from Southeastern. And they can be transferred. It can get you into a master's degree, whatever it may be. And they're going to take the same kind of classes. They're going to take the same kind of professors that on campus. So we drive them out. There's a few adjuncts that we need to use. I have an opportunity to teach as well. But we try to get the best professors we can get because we want these guys to have the same education. We want everything as much as it can be to be the same. Right. And they're taking 4 to 5 classes a semester. They're graduating in 4 years, and that from that standpoint, it's all the same. And we'll actually have about a month. We'll actually have an accreditation visit to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do from that side. Now, there's also we have ministry preparation and those kinds of things as well. That's a part of it. That doesn't necessarily have to be tied to accreditation. We also have a fully functional writing center where our students are actually helping guys with their assignments. We have accredited is probably the wrong one. We have certificate trained tutors as well, where they have actually gone through a specific training to tutor. Mm-hmm. And the educational side has been really, my coworker, Miss Capper, she's been great. She's really built those processes and systems to really help the educational side for these guys to learn. Because we've had guys come in, they hadn't seen a computer. They haven't been on a computer. They've been in prison for that long. And we've had guys who have taught themselves how to read in prison. We've had guys who, but we've also had guys who have college degrees. So it's a both, and we're trying to to help both. We know that we're going to need, both type of guys with that experience to step in and really help serve other people.
Yeah, try and cover the whole spectrum.
Yeah. So those experience. At the end of the day, the education, we talk about it, and even when I recruit, we talk about we call it a program on purpose. It's just not just an education or a degree, right? The education is a huge piece of what we do, but there's other pieces to this that we think are valuable. And I tell guys when we're recruiting, I don't need somebody that just needs a degree. You can go get a degree from somewhere else. I want guys who want to serve and make a difference in someone else's life and actually lay down their life in a way that's going to help someone else.
Right.
And that's when we will see real change happen. That not only does a facility, a prison, see change, but then a community, the families see change, right? And so we see our efforts as working from the inside out, right? Literally speaking, from inside out. So
I would say it's not just head smarts; it's actually you're really trying to change their heart.
Yeah, we're trying to get guys. The education is just a tool of formation at this point, right? It's not something that we're just like, oh yeah, we think this is good. Now we're trying to train them how to think. Mm-hmm. How do you think well? How do you communicate well and help de-escalate things? How do you help motivate a young guy who has the opportunity to? He's going to have an opportunity to join a gang. He's going to have an opportunity to begin to find himself in the wrong crowd. So how do we help steer those kinds of folks that are going to end up doing significant amount of time, but steer them into the right direction? How you can do this well and walk away clean when or find those young guys who are coming in for a year, 18, 24 months, and say you don't have to come back here. There's a different way for you than to do what you thought you had to do. You can do something different. You can be different.
Right. Yeah, it's teaching them not only knowledge but it's skills.
Yeah, skills. It's knowledge. In some ways, too, the biggest this is what I believe. The biggest motivator if we're going to see change in our prison system is going to be that our guys bring hope into situations. Like we actually, and there's lots of conversations around prison reform and how best to do those things, and that's not our job in any way, shape, or form. But what we know is that if we put hope into a situation, then people start to realize that they matter, and that once you understand that you matter and that other people matter, then that changes how you treat people.
Oh, absolutely.
And that from a incarcerated person to incarcerated to a corrections officer to a programs, all that begins to change when we understand that I am a value, they are a value, and I treat them differently because of that. Right. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
What would you say one of the biggest challenges is in kind of like, I want to say like the whole thing, but what's one of your biggest challenges right now that you guys are kind of going through? Right, it's kind of running. You guys just had your first graduating class. Like it seems like everything's really good. So what's one of the challenges that you guys?
I'd say one of our big challenges right now is actually finding the kind of guys that we need that we think will help change. We don't spend every day with them. It's different, right? Like in a sense of like we don't spend all the time with them.
Correct.
And the nature of prison is one of survival, which causes people to have different, they begin to develop certain attributes, characteristics. And, I believe that God can change people, but those are still kind of inside the culture.
Right.
And finding guys who just want to say, look, I want to give myself to this task. I want to give back. I want to do something that matters. Finding those kind of guys can be hard. Obviously, COVID's made that hard. COVID's made everything hard for folks, but that's been difficult. But find the right guys and not just settling. And also getting to guys. Like getting into prisons is not easy, although we have a process for that. It's easy to miss guys as well.
Right.
And we try to cast a large net so that we can find them and actually, hey, if you're interested, we want to help you be a part of this. So finding the right guys, I think, is one. And maybe the second would be continuing the level that we've been. So because it's grown, my boss, myself, and the structures, we have a director and then myself, as an assistant director, and Ms. Kevler as an associate director, and we have some other support staff as well. But as it grows, it kind of takes us away from the day-to-day.
Right. Yeah. Not so hands-on.
You're not always hands-on, and you're not always with the guys.
Right.
We're teaching, which is good. Both, me and Ms. Keller and our boss, we're all teaching courses at the men's facility, and some even in the women's facility. But it still takes us away. We're not always there. And as we built, they were used to, the guys were used to that. So we're trying to train them. Hey, we want you guys to be able to work through situations on your own. Like all those things are there. So in some ways, it challenges us to be better mentors, to be better teachers. Right? We have to help them, and so that it's not dependent on us. Because if it's dependent on us, at some point we can't do it all, and it'll fail.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I mean, you guys are trying to build them up to kind of be.
We want them to take it on.
Them to take it on. You want them to be who they are to you.
Yeah.
Right. Like you want them to have people look up to them so that we can mentor other people and just kind of
in all aspects, from a spiritual standpoint and educational standpoint, with tutors. We have graduate assistants now with that deploying class. So I mean, we want them to be able to. Hey, they're owning that and they're helping. And obviously they understand their context better than we understand their context. It's just the nature of it. I understand way more than I used to, right? But they understand their context way more, their culture way more than I understand it. And I can sit up here all day and I think they appreciate me, especially as a pastor in the area too. But at the end of the day, it's like they understand it. And if I can help them, then it frees us up to also do things that needs to happen. Raising support and those kind of deals as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like anxiety. Like if you've never had anxiety, you really can't relate.
Yeah, you don't know.
Like you're like, oh, just stop worrying about it. You're like, no, it's not how it works. But like, so kind of very similar to that.
Yeah, just helping them take their context and actually put their thoughts and their hearts and their hands to that.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, what was something that in this whole process you kind of didn't expect? I guess this whole thing really is something that you didn't expect.
No. So I actually, I gave my boss a 1-year deal. I said, I'll come work for you for a year, help you get this thing rolling. There were some other things that they were trying to build, and I said, I'll do that, and then I'll be out. And God saw fit to keep me. It'll be 4 years in the summer. So
wow.
I didn't expect to be here this long. I did not expect to be with helping oversee deployment. That energizes me to like that leadership development piece. It gives me life and energy, and I love seeing that happen. So I there's lots of pieces that I did not expect. Yeah. That's kind of where this has landed.
Right.
And I didn't expect a women's program, and the state, North Carolina DPS, asked us to start that.
Wow.
They asked us to do that. Did not expect
That's incredible.
So there's been multiple pieces. I've just been like, wow, that's awesome that those things have happened. Yeah. And I think that obviously God's been a part of that, but it's something that I didn't see any of that. So
how do you guys go about networking and stuff like that? Is it kind of word of mouth? Is it local? I mean, obviously you guys are working with a ton of people, so that kind of gives you, a little bit
I would say it's a little bit of everything for us. My boss, we didn't know this. Like I told you, he was a dear friend and mentor to me before I started working here, before we started doing this particular role. He's a fantastic fundraiser and very relational, so a great networker. So he does that, and I do that in some ways naturally as well. So, we'll go to conferences where this kind of thing is happening, and people are, having conversations about prison education or, this kind of prison ministry, which we would talk about as training those guys to do ministry. We try to network in those ways. We're not, as an institution, as a school, we're not really blasting like, hey, look, we're doing this, we're doing that. That's not really what we're doing. It's much more relational, and then finding the right people. Like, hey, who do we need to talk to about that? And Game Plan for Life does some of that as well. They do obviously they're our funder. They do a lot of the networking as well, introducing us. But we'll meet people, we'll have lunch, and they'll be like, hey, you need to meet this person. And that's really how it goes.
Yeah. Kind of handshaking kind of deal.
Yeah, we've seen, we know that there are other programs that struggle educationally in the prison setting. And what I mean by that is they just had a harder time getting in, getting access. And we know that's the case. We just made it a point to say, we're going to take people out to lunch. We're going to call instead of email. We're going to take the time to see people. And that's from my boss. That's just something I've learned from him. If I can write a 2-minute email, just pick up the phone and call somebody.
Right.
If I have time, let's take somebody out to lunch and let's actually just talk to them and actually get to know them. And what that does is build relationships. And like during COVID, our associate warden for programs, it's really been on her the only reason we've been able to do anything during COVID, because she cares.
Wow.
They could have shut us down. She could have said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore right now. But because she cares, because she knows that we care about her and we know she cares about us and our program, it's easy to work together. And I think it's just easy to overlook some of those just simple relationship aspects of just like caring for people that then builds into, hey, you should meet this person. You should meet this person. And that's really what it boils down to. There's no secret. There's no silver bullet. It's just taking some time to take people to lunch.
Well, I mean, that's really what you guys are kind of trying to instill in other people, right? And you guys are kind of leading by example. So, like, in you guys doing that, you guys are definitely showing people, like, this is, what will help people grow, and this is how you create friendships and mentorships and stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, relationships mean the most to me. I think they matter a ton, and they obviously matter in the workplace. And sometimes we just kind of overthink it about how to go in that direction. Yeah. And just care for people. That's what it boils down to. And that'll take care of itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the most important things, right?
Yeah.
What's something about the program that, like a myth that you like to debunk, if there even is?
Oh, yeah. That's actually a great question. So we, the state of North Carolina has chaplains. There's a kind of different roles. So the state of North Carolina has state-funded chaplains. They have chaplains who are kind of contract chaplains, and then they have chaplains who are community funded. So there's kind of 3 or so different levels of chaplains. And the state needs chaplains. The state cut funding on chaplaincy before our program started. A myth that's out there is that these guys are going to take their chaplains' jobs. And that's hard because that's not what we're doing. We actually see our role. We believe that chaplains are needed and assets in prisons, and we see our guys augmenting and supporting what they do. They can't be a chaplain.
Right.
They don't want to be a chaplain. We don't want it. Like we want that to be something that's a good relationship. And we've been fighting a myth for a few years. Maybe not as bad as it was, but we did fight a myth of like, hey, they're taking our jobs, and that's not the case at all. We want chaplains to know, guys, like, no, you matter, and we're here to support you and help you, and we want our guys to support and help you as well. And that's something we didn't really know was going to happen. Again, it's taking some relational capital. It's taking some time to build that in. But now that we have guys in the field, we have field ministers out in prisons, that'll take care of itself when people start seeing, hey, that's actually not the case. These guys aren't chaplains. The facilities that we have them, so there's 5 facilities, including the one at Nash. There are all 4 of those outside Nash have a chaplain. One of them even has 2 chaplains.
Well, okay.
And that's needed. And so where they're going to be able to work with them and demonstrate, hey, this is actually good. This is helpful for chaplains, because we want to help support them. The funding obviously is not there. We know there's some hardship, and we want to help. Yeah. And just kind of debunk the myth of, we're here, the guys are there to take the job. That ain't true.
No, I mean there's only so much they can do, right?
Yeah, and it's a logical thought. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like, okay, why are they doing this? They cut funding. I get all that. But we know that it just takes a little bit of time. So let me show you the benefit of what this actually could be, and go from there. So I've been thankful that we've been able, even when we've had some of those hard conversations, that people, most folks have been like, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And they're like, it's been able to be built on from there.
Yeah. No, I think they're almost like almost a necessity, right? So you have somebody that's there, but you don't have kind of like the grounds on the boot. Yeah. The boots on the ground. That's right. So if you could have both of them, it makes it even stronger.
Right. And the field ministers are going to be there when chaplains leave. Yeah. Right. The guy that loses a family member at 2 a.m, the chaplain's not there, but you can send a field minister in to care for that guy, to speak to him, make sure that there's no physical outbursts, which would be natural that you can't see your family, right? There's also other things. The state needs people to watch those that are on suicide watch. You need folks to help facilitate trainings. Like, you need all those things, and you're going to need chaplains, and I think you're going to need field ministers to really see change take place.
Yeah, I mean, the more the better, right?
That's right. More folks to help them. That's right. That's exactly right.
What's a question that you wish that I asked you?
That's a good one. So I think a question would be, and I had thought about this, and now I'm blanking on the answer that I had thought about. But if we were just going to sit down and have this conversation, I would want to be asked, how does what you do help not just those incarcerated, but those on the outside? Yeah. That's a particular question.
Yeah,
right? That's a specific question. I think, and to answer that question, I would say our society is invested in many ways in our prison system, whether it's financial or whatever. And you would be surprised at how many people actually have a family member who has been incarcerated. And the benefit of a program like ours is to see change happen in these men's lives, but also to see the change that happens in their family members' lives, to see moms come to a graduation that they never thought their son would graduate, to see the impact of our guys taking up food for a food bank. Right, so they're thinking through those things too, and like they're taking donations to send to the outside. So those are just some tangible ways, but also if we can help change the mindset of someone that's going to enter into the society again, then our society has become better.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of times we think of prison as this thing that's like over here. It's not something that we want to think about, or something that we don't have to be associated or a part of that. When actually, if we step in and say, hey, we can make a difference, that's going to help my community be safer. It's going to help my community be more connected. It's going to help my community be a place where not just justice happens, but restoration happens. And I hope that's where we're going. In what we see, and that's more individual, right? Our program's not to facilitate that systematic change, but individuals you'll start to see that change on a society level. We think in 15, 20 years, we hope that's the case.
Without a doubt. I mean, you have good people, you put them around other people, they're going to rub off, and it's kind of like a cascading effect, which will pour out to the communities, right? It starts at home. It's kind of like having a family. You raise your kid well, and he will go out and he will encourage people. And
that's right. Be a good citizen, like all those things.
Yep.
Yeah.
So really cool.
Yeah, man.
So what's a couple ways that people can find you guys? Social media, website, stuff like that.
Yeah. So Southeastern has a website, sebts.edu. You can go to academics, the tab on academics, and see prison programs. Southeastern, if you do Facebook, the Southeastern Seminary or the college at Southeastern, any of those searches they're gonna be Facebook. There's gonna be Instagram and Twitter, and then there's also Game Plan for Life has a website. If you just go to gameplanforlife.com, and then also they have social media, Facebook and Instagram as well, and they're gonna be connected. And that's probably the easiest way to find out, hey, what's going on, what we're doing. You can call the school. Just look up Southeastern, call us, and if you're interested in what we're doing or want to help, give us a call. Just call the school and ask for prison programs, and you'll be transferred to us. And we'd love to have a conversation with somebody that wants to help or be a part of that.
And now, how can people actually help?
Yeah, so I say first thing is to pray for the guys, for staff. If you're looking for a job, prisons are really struggling for finding folks. Like, just to be as a practical way, we know that there's a labor shortage, right? Mm-hmm. But safety is a really big deal, right? In prisons, and folks are. So hey, if you're looking for a job and you're listening to this, like, hey, think about serving that way. But also helping would be there will be opportunities in the future to help these guys that are deployed. Those things are being formed. We don't have policies in place yet for all of that. Obviously, giving is a place. We take donations for the program. So basically, what happens is the school doesn't pay anything for this, and neither does the student. Right. So Game Plan for Life is raising funds. We're also raising funds ourselves to offset the cost of the program. And that's a real tangible way, and that people can do that. And they can go through Game Plan for Life too. Game Plan for Life has some other opportunities in the context of prison ministry if people want to help in different ways. They have some ways of connecting people and that kind of deal. And you'll find on their social media, you'll find some ways that you can be plugged in and help in that way too. Okay. So I would say prayer, get involved, and giving are probably the three main ways that people can help.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cody, I really do appreciate it. This is really cool. This is an awesome thing to even hear about. Something I've actually never even heard about.
Yeah. I hadn't either until I got asked to start working. So
yeah. So I mean, when you came by, you kind of talked to me and my wife about what you guys are doing and stuff. We were just like, "That's really cool. We've never heard of anything like that." And my wife and I, we love to be involved in things. So we heard that, and then once I kind of decided to do this whole podcast thing, I was like, I'd love to just be able to share with other people like that have probably never heard about it. You know. So it's cool. This is an amazing thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Super excited for you guys and for just the awareness that it brings to people. And especially for the prisoners and people like that that need more than just a mentor.
That's
right. It's because, as you guys are saying, like it's a Christian based program. So like we want to show the love of Christ to people. So that's ultimately.
Yeah, we know that that's going to be the ultimate change agent, and flowing out of that is going to be serving people and loving folks, but actually putting some hands to that, some actually tangible ways to do that. So we're excited to see what God does over the years, and see what He brings out of that.
This is incredible. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, buddy.